Hi everybody, Donnie Collins here, a big time events DJ. Just a little bit about myself before I get started here. I have been a musician for the past 37 years. I play mostly piano and do vocals as well. And I've also been a DJ for the past 17 years doing mostly wedding ceremonies and also wedding receptions. So I've got a lot of experience with epic bridal marches, which is what I want to talk to you about today. So let's jump into this. You know, your wedding ceremony is probably one of the most anticipated moments in your entire life. So you want to try to get it as good as you absolutely can. So really think about what your vision is. And what I want to focus on is what music are you going to be playing at your wedding ceremony, specifically your bridal march, and how can you make that unique, make it yours, to tailor it to exactly the way you want it to be, and to make it meaningful and fantastic. So that's what I want to focus on as we look at this today. So first of all, it's super important to pick a song that moves you. And this is kind of obvious, but a lot of times I will speak to clients who need some suggestions as to what should I pick for the song that I'm going to march down the aisle to, you know, this once in a lifetime event that's going to happen. You might want to think of songs that you grew up with as you anticipated this moment. Even before you met your partner, you might have thought, you know, when you were younger, wow, I want this song to be played when I'm coming down the aisle. So think about things like that. You might have songs that you and your partner share together, you know, a special moment, special trip, special event, something like that. Me personally, I really like movie soundtracks. Sometimes I will get on Pandora or Spotify and put on a playlist of movie soundtracks. Even for movies that I'm not familiar with, I'll come across songs that are just beautiful, and I'll think, wow, that's a really powerful song. And, you know, it might be something that a bride might want to walk down the aisle to. Maybe think about things you've seen on TV. You might have some TV shows that you just absolutely love. And of course, you can check on suggestions online as well. Now, once you have picked the song, what you might want to think about at that point is, what is the part of the song that I absolutely love the most? A lot of times brides will think, well, I'll play the song from the beginning and I'll start walking. But one thing that you have to think about with that is that sometimes there are really long intros. If you think about the song At Last by Etta James, it's got that string intro at the very beginning of it. I don't know exactly how long it takes, but something to think about is how long is it going to take you to actually get down the aisle, okay? So if you start playing At Last by Etta James and you immediately start walking when the music begins and it goes through all that, you might get, you know, 75% down the aisle before the singing actually begins. And then when you get in place, the music will probably fade down and you really won't hear that much of the song itself. It's probably not going to take you as long to get down the aisle as you might think. And if that's the case, you actually might miss the most important part of the song. So really think about, what part of the song do I love the best, and go down the aisle to that part of the song. Now, let's look at a couple of ways that you can do that. One way is to actually let the intro play, okay? And with that song that I just mentioned with Etta James, I did a wedding once where the wedding party came in and the bride got in place to start walking, but she didn't actually start walking yet. So the string intro for that song played, and then when the lyric began in verse 1, the At Last part, that's when she started walking down the aisle, and it was really, really impactful. So for that moment that you're there, letting the intro play in that example really builds up the anticipation, and you can basically enjoy the moment. All the planning, all the anticipation that's coming up to this point, you're kind of basking in the moment at that point. Now, I've had other clients who have had different songs with very long intros. I think I've waited up to 2 minutes before as the intro played. And then once it got to that point in the song where she wanted to walk in, that's when she walked in. And it was really, really good. It's very impactful. And A lot of wedding ceremony venues, they will have doors, and the doors will open up when that big part of the song hits, and it's just a really, really good way to do the bridal march. Another example that I've got for you right here is the song Speechless by Dan and Shay. I did a wedding once where the wedding party came into their song, and everybody was in place, down to the flower girl and the ring bearer. And then that song faded down, and we did 5 seconds of silence. Now, I like to do that because you've probably had 30 minutes of prelude music playing, then your family comes in, then your wedding party comes in. So you had music for probably at least 35, 40 minutes. And people are used to hearing the music. And then they hear silence. And that acts as a quiet attention getter, and everybody knows that something big is about to happen. So what we did in this case, the bride was in place, but again, not walking yet. She was just in place, like right at the doors in that case. And the song Speechless began to play. And it starts with the verse right at the very beginning. So verse 1 played. She was standing back there, again, taking in the moment, enjoying it, anticipation's building up. And then when the chorus hit, at that point, the chorus is really big, the doors open, and she goes down the aisle nice and slow. And probably in that particular example, the whole chorus would actually play. Then when it gets to the end of the chorus, you would fade down slowly, and it would just be a really, really good bridal march. Last example that I've got here, something similar but slightly different. The client wanted My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, but this one did require a special edit. So what we did here was to play the beginning of the song as it is, that little intro, and then we went directly to the big last verse and chorus where there's a key change and the song really lifts up at that point. So that involved a special edit. Now, it would be best to do this ahead of time. It is possible to do it live, but I probably wouldn't recommend it because you really want to be sure you get it right. And again, this is a big, important thing that we're doing here. So I would lean towards going with an edited version that's just ready to be played as it is, and that way you can make sure it's just right. So the bride actually walked in, the doors open, and she walked in right at that point at the end of the song where the song really lifts up and gets very, very big. And it was so good, so impactful, and it was just a really good bridal march. Some other things to think about as far as music during the ceremony. I'm doing more and more wedding ceremonies now where there is not any music during the actual ceremony. Now, some folks will do something like a unity cross or chords, or unity sand is really good. You can play music there if you like, but I'm doing more where if they do this, they don't have any music. Because number one, it doesn't take that long to do it, so you're probably not going to play an appreciable length of the song anyway. And the other thing is that sometimes the officiant will be speaking during this time. So I'm running into more ceremonies that actually don't have any music in the middle of the ceremony at all. Now, I've done some ceremonies recently where dialogue has been used, and this has been very, very cool. Couple of examples. I did one wedding recently where just before the bride came in, one of the children involved in the ceremony had a pre-recorded dialogue part that was played right before the kids came in and the bride came in, and it was absolutely wonderful. All the guests turned around and looked because I think they thought he was actually speaking it right then. But it really got everybody's attention, and it was very cute, very special, and it was perfect. The bride had a special message recorded for the groom, and this was played just before she walked in. Okay, so a lot of times if you have something special to say, or if a special person has something special to say, you might want to consider including that as a dialogue at some point during the ceremony. One thing to think about is, do you want a music bed with it or not? A music bed just being some music to play underneath it as the dialogue is playing. If you do that, you want to be sure to have the music bed down low and the dialogue nice and loud so everybody can hear it very, very well. I would say another thing with this too, I wouldn't overdo it. I would probably just do this once during the ceremony. So I would be careful to not overdo that. That brings us to the end of this discussion. So what do you think? What are some ideas you've got about an epic bridal march? Leave them in the comments down below. Again, my name is Donnie Collins of Big Time Events DJ. Till next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.